Welcome back. You are watching the Press Preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with the Daily Mirror's associate editor, Kevin Maguire, and the Daily Mail's Whitehall editor, Claire Ellicott. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's see what's on some of those front pages for you now. Well, the Metro offers words of warning from the Defence Secretary, John Healey, to Russian President Vladimir Putin after an alleged Russian spy ship was found in British waters. The Times also has this story on its front page using John Healey's words, the UK will not shy away. Similarly, in the Daily Mail, which reports that a Royal Navy submarine surfaced nearby in a show of force. The Telegraph carries research suggesting that 1 in 12 London residents is an illegal migrant. The Mirror reports on the fatal stabbing of 12-year-old Leo Ross, with a 14-year-old under arrest on suspicion of murder. It's the same story on the front of The Sun, reporting that Leo was described as funny and sweet. The Guardian leads with Prince Harry settling his privacy case, with the owner of the Sun newspaper quoting the Duke, who described the win as historic. It's a similar front on the I newspaper. Its headline, Gotcha. The Prince forces the Sun to pay out. The Financial Times reports that Donald Trump has halted $300 billion worth of investment in clean energy projects championed by the Biden administration. The Express reports on claims of an Islamic State death cult back on the streets of Syria following the fall of Assad. And The Star hears that some original members of the Village People are angry with their successors for playing at Mr. Trump's inauguration. The battle of the Village People unfolding. Well, we're joined tonight by Kevin Maguire and Claire Ellicott. Welcome to you both. Let's start with more serious matters. Have a look at the front of the Eye and their headline, Gotcha. Prince forces the Sun to pay out over £10 million. Kevin, take us into today's story.
Yeah, it leads two papers, the Eye and the Guardian's also on the front of the Telegraph, because Gotcha was the infamous headline in 1982 during the Falklands War on the front of the Sun when the Belgrano sank. I think about 250, 300 people died in there. They changed it in later editions, and they're paying this admission in the High Court today for the first time by Newsgroup newspapers of illegal activity at the Sun in the past. And the sums that have been paid haven't been disclosed, but it's commonly thought to be an 8-figure sum, which is 10 million or more. The papers put it between 10 and 20 million, and that's a huge amount to settle for. And of course, there's reputational damage. Full disclosure: the Mirror, which I work for, paid out to him much less. I think it was in total about 440,000 to Prince Harry after he won. The paper lost a case over hacking. This is other and much wider allegations, but we won't hear them in court. Dare I say it, as a journalist, I was looking forward to reading the reports and watching the reports of Prince Harry giving evidence.
And that's something that we thought Harry wanted to have the evidence out.
Yeah, well, the Telegraph pick up on that, actually. They call it climbs down, because he said he was going to go all the way. But the way it works is there's a pressure of mediation. You could win your case, but if the award from the judge is less than that you were offered and rejected, you pick up the costs of both sides. So if that is the case, I think he had no choice. I think calling it a climb down is a bit harsh. I think it was just a reality. We don't know what Lord Tom Watson, who also won his case. We don't know how much he will be paid, but I suspect it'll be a pretty penny. I know what happened because he's an old friend, Tom, who I knew before he became an MP. I said, why are you going to give up a good job at the engineering union to risk becoming an MP? He ended up deputy leader of the Labour Party. But I know the impact on his marriage and the family of the surveillance was absolutely intense and contributed to a divorce. So we don't know the exact amounts, and we won't because they're sealed. And there's a question of costs, and it's said that the sum Harry has been awarded includes costs. We'll have to wait and see until all that's finalised. But as you've been saying, he's got this acceptance now. You're mentioning his mother, and in fact, on the eye, Alison Phillips, a former editor of the Mirror, has written Prince Harry will feel the result is justice for his mother, who he's always said the press either contributed to or killed her, which of course is disputed. That won't be heard in court.
And Claire, some calls now for a further inquiry, some suggesting Leveson Part 2. We've heard Lord Watson suggesting that definitely this isn't the end.
Yes, this is definitely what Lord Watson wants. He wants the second part of the Leveson inquiry to be heard. Whether or not the government would go for that, I would have thought it was unlikely. There's been some words today about this, but I think everyone's sort of still absorbing the judgment because, well, the statement that NGN put out was quite a long statement. It took into account quite a lot of things, including, as Kevin mentions, the story about Princess Diana. It was clearly something Harry really wanted mentioned in this settlement with the newspaper group. And whether or not there's further action from this, I know in the past Prince Harry has settled other claims and called for further action, and it's not been forthcoming. So I think we'll have to see, but I think it's a difficult subject, and it'll be one for the Labour administration.
I think the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandy, has made in Downing Street on behalf of Keir Starmer, made it clear they don't want another public inquiry. They're going to resist what's called Leveson 2, which was to be into the relations between the media and the police, which was punted out a long time ago by Conservative administrations in the long grass. But Tom Watson's got, he's in the House of Lords. You could see a parliamentary inquiry pushed by him there. Maybe the Commons too, if the Culture Committee wishes to get involved.
I think you need the support of the government, though, to do something.
We shall see. Let's move on to The Guardian, and the headline there, Stop War or Face Tariffs. Trump tells Putin Donald Trump threatened Russia with taxes, tariffs and sanctions if there isn't a deal and an end to the war in Ukraine.
Well, Trump's turning out to be quite the peacemaker. He's claims to have brokered peace in the Middle East, and now he's going to settle things in Ukraine. I don't think it'll be in Ukraine's interest, but it's interesting the language that Trump has used. He is telling Putin that he will face sanctions, not just from the US, which doesn't do huge amounts of trade with Russia, but from other interested parties. So it sounds like Trump wants to assemble some sort of consortium of like-minded countries to put further pressure, because there's already a lot of pressure from Europe on Putin, but you've now got the new president of the US saying that, he wants this war to end and it needs to end soon. I think he said we can end it the easy way or the hard way, and the easy way will be easiest. So whether or not that is in Ukraine's favour, I think there's a growing acceptance that perhaps Ukraine will have to lose some of the territory that it's lost to Putin's evil invasion. But the reality is that this war is just continuing on. It's this sort of stalemate. Russia's actually made gains recently. It's not going very well, and there will have to be some end to this at some point. And if Putin gets put under pressure, then hopefully that will
Well, Trump has famously said that he could end the war in the day. Let's get this.
So it's his first broken promise.
Well, he said, let's get this war, which never would have started if I were president, over with. We can do it the easy way, as you said, or the hard way. And the easy way is always better.
Yeah, but if the easy way is just saying to Zelensky, and you've got to cede all that 20% of your territory, just accept it, and Putin, you've just got to stop fighting, you just keep what you've got, then that's at Ukraine's cost, and Putin would bite his hand off, I would have thought.
Although Zelensky has said for the first time, and this is an exclusive with our correspondent Stuart Ramsey, that for the first time he could think about ceding territory. So it's a thought that he has considered.
Yeah, well there was a case for the Crimea, which was seized in 2014, because that is overwhelmingly Russian and was part of Russia until it was administratively moved to Ukraine in the old Soviet Union in the 1950s. So there is there's an argument around that, but yes, the killing on both sides is absolutely horrific. A lot of that territory now will just be wasteland. Actually, it's been destroyed because of the fighting. But is Trump just going to say, right, that's it? You just freeze it where it is, and you lose your land. That's not a victory for Ukraine. That's a victory for Putin.
Claire, staying with Russia, to the Mail now. We see you, we know what you're doing. This is our Defence Secretary aiming this at Moscow.
Isn't this a fantastic story? So this is kind of Cold War sort of nuclear subs and Russian spy ships. It's got everything, hasn't it? Like a John le Carré novel. So a Royal Navy submarine, I think this was back in October, surfaced next to a Russian spy ship to warn them that they had been tracking them. There was covert surveillance, and Russia has sent this spy ship to track all of the undersea cables that control all of our communications and everything else that's important. And they've been, Russia have been implicated in the chopping of undersea cables all around the world, causing general mischief. And John Healey, the Defence Secretary, has revealed today that actually the spy ship popped up and in very polite terms told Russia that we've got an eye on you, and I think the spy ship then disappeared.
Yeah, and we won't be frightened to act.
I find, of course, Putin's a threat. I suspect there are maps of these cables when they were laid. I don't think you really need a spy ship to do that. And well, we've got troops on the border with Russia. I always think when you go, look, the Russians are coming, this is terrible. We do have troops in the Baltic states on Russia's land border. They do not have troops on land, well, we haven't got land borders. But
there is a question mark. What was the Yantar doing there?
Oh, of course. We know it was up to no good. Yeah.
Kevin and Claire, thank you very much for the moment. We're going to take a break. Coming up, a new study suggests 1 in 12 London residents is an illegal migrant. We'll discuss that next. Do stay with us.
We've come to one of Moscow's Cold War bunkers. It was built as a top-secret command centre. Being here really feels like you're stepping back in time. I'm Ivor Bennett, Sky's Moscow correspondent. A show of military might and menace. Courage, bravery and sacrifice will win the day. It's a new subject. They'll learn about combat drones and some how to handle a Kalashnikov. The Kremlin continues to put forward its own version of events, both present and past. There's no mention of the fact that Russia invaded its neighbour. That's rewriting history, isn't it?
Now we are to read it carefully.
Vladimir Putin put forward his plan for a ceasefire in Ukraine, telling Kiev, pull out of your eastern territories and the war will end. Why should the West trust you?
Frankly, I don't care whether the West trusts us or not.
Vladimir Putin is already the Kremlin's longest-serving leader since Stalin. The question is, what will a fifth Putin term mean for Russia and the world? Why do you support Vladimir Putin, Mr. Segal?
I can't answer questions that stupid.
I've watched Vladimir Putin attempt to create a new world order. The St. Petersburg Economic Forum was the backdrop to Vladimir Putin's latest verbal volley that Russia could send missiles to other nations to target the West. Ambassador, I wonder, shall we have a quick word for Sky News? Is the West right? Are you fueling Russia's war machine?
Swedish media, oh my God, you're not afraid of being here.
American journalist Evan Gershkovich is on trial here, but was first on display. Russia says Evan Gershkovich was caught red-handed, but has never produced any evidence to back that up. Sky News. Get the full story first.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
Live here from Washington.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
we've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. A new start to Sunday.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Welcome back. You are watching the press preview. Still with me, Kevin Maguire and Claire Ellicott. Let's take a look at the front page of the Telegraph. With the stark headline, 1 in 12 in London is illegal migrant. The article saying that London is home to as many as 585,000 illegal migrants, equivalent to 1 in 12 of the city's population. This is according to a previously confidential report commissioned by Thames Water.
Thames Water, which seems to be distancing itself from the report it commissioned, saying they didn't write it, they played no part in the writing of it, and the conclusions are drawn those of a research company they've got. I think it's going to be highly controversial. You don't know how many illegal migrants are in Britain because they are illegal. People coming over in boats, you count and you name and you process, you know them, but other people. So I think it's just highly contentious, this report.
Well, this is based, it's on an estimate, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know, the running total you normally get from the government is they think there might be 1 million, because there's been talk in the past of having an amnesty. Boris Johnson backed an amnesty in London in his happier days as mayor. Became Prime Minister, he went somewhere else. But I just...
Is this scaremongering?
I fear this headline is inflammatory.
Is it scaremongering, Claire?
It's just a bit puzzling because it's not quite clear how they've got to the figures that they're using. I guess if you were Thames Water, it sort of sounds to me like Thames Water has commissioned a report to find out how its services are being used, and that, you know, someone's looked at this report and taken the figures that they're using, because I think there's some interesting things about water providers. They can't cut off supplies. You can't cut off water supplies. So you have to keep providing. So you have to sort of know how many people are in households that you're supplying to. So I can see why Thames Water would want to know who's using their services. But it's not quite clear how they know...
But landlords operate now as immigration officers, and you've got to show proof of who you are or you're legally... Chris Philp, the Rent-A-Quote Tory Shadow Home Secretary, says the figures are deeply alarming. Well, if they're deeply alarming, I suggest he has a word with the political party that was in power across the UK for 14 years, when these figures would have been accumulated if they're at all accurate.
Just to finish up on this, but worth noting that the Home Office doesn't publish any comprehensive data estimating the number of illegal migrants in the UK. Let's finally go to the Metro. And Claire, tell us about this double bluff that went a little bit awry.
This story is fantastic. So a lady in the US, in Florida, was carrying a bag which said, "This is definitely not a bag full of drugs." And it turned out to be a bag full of drugs. She was carrying a load of crystal meth in a tote bag, and then she got arrested. And she was on bail for drug offences earlier that, days earlier.
Is this true?
Yeah, well, it's got quotes from the police.
It probably is.
She's been returned to prison. She's probably going to face a longer sentence. I mean, clearly very, very stupid when the double bluff has just completely backfired. She's going to be away for a long time. And drugs are a problem. Crystal meth, Breaking Bad. But I do feel like, look, there's a wonderfully miserable picture.
Well.
And,
yes, I think the bag saying definitely this is not a bag full of drugs is an aggravating.
You were a copper. You were a copper, and you saw that. You would immediately want to open it.
Yeah,
to check.
exactly.
You say, "Oh, look at that! It says it's not full of." That's all right. Then move along, please. Nothing to see here.
The double bluff that did not work. Kevin and Claire, thank you so much for taking us through the papers. We'll see you in the 11 o'clock hour. In the meantime, let's take a look at the weather for you. And it'll turn wetter and windier tomorrow, with Storm Eowyn will bring potentially disruptive winds on Friday. The UK has widespread wind, rain and snow warnings in place, amber for wind through central parts, while Ireland has red wind warnings for most parts into Friday afternoon. Before then, the UK will start mostly dry tomorrow, with frost and fog in the east, while Ireland looks wet and windy. Rain there, locally heavy, will clear across Northern Ireland and into much of Britain tomorrow morning, with sunshine and blustery showers following. Although northeast Scotland looks dry, it'll be milder but windier than recently. Britain will see rain clearing to northern Scotland later, with showers following, but they'll die out over Ireland. Coming up next on Sky News at 11, we'll have more on what Prince Harry claimed as a monumental victory against the publishers of The Sun.